It is officially everyone's favorite time of the year, and when I'm saying that, I am talking about it is October 1st, it is spooky season, it's almost Halloween, we are here for the vibes. And something that I originally wanted to do for my channel this month was a movie review every single day of October leading up to Halloween, where we will eventually talk about the grand Halloween 1978. But after a little bit of reflection, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that a possibility, and I think it all depends on this video today. Although it is not October 30th and it is not All Hallows Eve, today we are going to be talking about the movie All Hallows Eve in the very first feature film featuring Art the Clown. This movie would also play as the directorial debut of Damien Leone, who we know has gone on to direct all of the Terrifier movies featuring Art the Clown. But the thing about All Hallows Eve is that a lot of people don't watch it, and honestly a lot of people probably don't even know that this movie exists unless you are a die-hard Terrifier fan. So with all of that said, today we are going to talk about All Hallows Eve, and we are going to discuss the debut of Art the Clown. So if you are in this for the long haul, then go ahead and grab yourself a snack and a drink, sit tight, and let's get into it. So All Hallows Eve is an anthology film that came out in 2013. This was directed and edited by Damien Leone, and like I said, if you're not sure what an anthology film is, it's basically a bunch of short films compiled into one thing, and they are using it to make a movie. That's exactly what they did here, but one reoccurring theme in all of the short films that they have compiled is that they do star Art the Clown. The way they play this movie out is that a babysitter and some kids that she was babysitting ended up finding a tape that was left in one of their trick-or-treat bags, and as they are watching this tape, they find these short films compiled into this movie, and Art the Clown eventually presents himself in a much more lifelike form. This movie has a runtime of just 83 minutes, and although it's not the most popular movie in the Terrifier franchise, fans of the franchise have learned to love this movie for what it is. So if you're in it for like a found footage type film, or if you like the idea of anthologies like popular trick-or-treat movie, then you will like this movie for what it is. So the movie opens up showing us that the babysitter Sarah is babysitting Tia and Timmy, and after they come back in from a long night of trick-or-treating, they find this VHS tape in their bags. They put it on to watch the short films on the VHS tape, and they shortly realize this is something that you do not want a kid getting in their trick-or-treat bag. So one thing about all of these movies is that they are very odd and weird. Although yes, they do include Art the Clown doing typical Art the Clown things, a lot of other things that are featured in these short films are like witches and demons and ghouls, and Damien Leone is on record stating that he was kind of trying to just compile anything creepy or scary that he could think of and just throw it at the wall in hopes that something would stick. Obviously Art the Clown was that thing that stuck, because now we have the ever so loved Terrifier franchise. But that's a recurring theme in a lot of these short films on this anthology movie. It features a lot of weird creatures, demonic symbolism, witches, whatever it is, whatever you're spooked about, it's definitely going to be in one of these short films. We ended up seeing a showing of that in just the first short film on the anthology. This film follows a girl named Casey waiting on a train, and Art the Clown then drugs her and brings her to what seems like a depth of hell. So this short part in the very beginning of this movie didn't really do a whole lot for me. Like I said, it kind of just featured a lot of weird stuff like witches, demons, ghouls, Art the Clown for a short span at the very beginning. Obviously, you know how it goes towards the end to every victim in a Terrifier movie. That ends up happening, and the babysitter decides that she needs to put the kids to bed, but instead of turning this VHS tape off, she decides she wants to stick around and continue watching. Probably the worst mistake she's ever made in her life. The second film showcases a woman named Caroline, and Caroline is going through a lot of problems within her home. It seems like she's having a lot of power outages or just problems with power and electricity overall, and if you can't tell by just that, this ends up turning into an alien invasion type movie. We find out her husband is a painter in this movie, but at the end an alien eventually finds Caroline after breaking into her home. He decides to drag her off, and she pulls the sheet off of a painting, revealing a picture of Art the Clown. This is kind of weird, and at this point you can basically see that Damien Leone was really trying to push the idea of Art the Clown, even though all of these short films wanted to showcase something different and some other type of creature and monster in each of them. Something that was common in at least the beginning or the end of them was a showing of Art the Clown. And this is because Damien Leone has had the idea for Art the Clown for years and years. The Terrifier movie and the All Hallows Eve movie even, that wasn't the first time that Damien Leone had the idea for Art the Clown. He already knows who he wanted it to be, he already knows what he wanted to do with it, and so with that he decided to push it and see if more people would get behind the idea. Obviously, knowing what we know now, this worked out perfectly. We all love Art the Clown, we all love the Terrifier movies. He's become one of the most infamous slashers in horror history, no doubt about it. After this, we get the third and final installment in this anthology movie, and this is without a doubt the most showcasing movie when it comes to Art the Clown. We end up seeing a costume designer who is just driving down the road and has to stop at a gas station, and as she pulls up, she sees the attendant kicking out Art the Clown, and the reason he's actually kicking Art out is because he did a lot of nasty stuff with his bodily functions, which is something that we also saw in the first Terrifier movie. And obviously, as soon as you seen Art the Clown in this film, you knew that something was about to go down. So he doesn't really take too kindly to this gas station worker kicking him out. He handles business in his own way, and the costume designer finds him handling business in the gas station. Obviously, she is freaked out. She tries to run, but then Art the Clown and the chase ensue. As she's driving away, Art the Clown ends up popping up in her car and trying to suffocate her with a bag. She slams on the brakes, she escapes, she gets into a shed. This is where we find out that Art the Clown is definitely more than just a human, because he eventually digs his way through the ground into the shed, and he tries to kill her that way as well. This costume designer is able to escape yet again and get a ride from somebody, but as they are driving down the road, we figure out that Art the Clown can actually drive a car as well, and he is not above using a gun to handle his business, so he catches her yet again. The costume designer ends up regaining her consciousness after this car crash, and Art the Clown has gotten a hold of her, and we can only assume what happens at that point. After all of this is when the babysitter finally decides to turn off this VHS tape. And I gotta admit, after everything that we had seen in the first and second Terrifier movie, she hasn't seen anything yet. The things that she is seeing on this VHS tape are nothing compared to the stuff that Art the Clown does nowadays. But she finally turns it off, and when she does, the phone in the house rings, and when she picks it up, she can hear the costume designer from the final part in the film begging her for help. And at this point, she looks at the TV and it starts to flicker, and we see that Art the Clown is about to exit the television screen. After this, she hears a noise upstairs, and when she goes to check it out, Art the Clown is at the top of the stairs. He is covered in you-know-what, and he is right next to the bedroom of the kids that she had sent to sleep. And for the most controversial part that we have ever seen in a movie featuring Art the Clown thus far, she walks in to discover what has happened. I'm not going to get into detail because I don't want to get in trouble by YouTube, and I don't want to trigger anybody if this is triggering for you. I guess if it's triggering for you, you probably shouldn't be watching this anyways. But obviously, if Art the Clown is upstairs next to the kid's bedroom and she heard a scream, you can ultimately assume what happens, and Art is written on the wall, and this is the first time that we would see the trademark Art written anywhere. And that is how the movie goes off. Obviously, not much story apart from the short anthology part series, and if I'm going to be honest with you, anthology movies or just like found footage movies like this, they aren't necessarily my favorite thing in the world. I can watch one here and there, or if it's something I'm really invested in, like All Hallows Eve or even like the first VHS movie, I can watch it and I can appreciate it for what it was. The only thing that made me want to watch this movie was the fact that it featured Art the Clown on the poster, and I was already a Terrifier fan up until this point. I ended up watching All Hallows Eve before Terrifier 2 released, but I wasn't aware that it was actually a thing until I had seen him on the poster and I already knew what Terrifier was. That's something that a lot of people go through as Terrifier fans. You don't really know about this All Hallows Eve movie until it is presented to you in some sort of way. I think I saw the poster for it on Tubi, I want to say, and that's where I watched this movie for the first time, and it definitely wasn't what I expected when it came to featuring Art the Clown, but after watching it several times and after watching the Terrifier movies, I can definitely appreciate what direction they were going, where Damien Leone was trying to direct this. It all made perfect sense in the end, and I loved the way it showcased everything that Art the Clown could do. It made it a little bit easier to understand the Terrifier movies themselves as well, because at this point, if you had already watched All Hallows Eve, then you can already kind of assume what Art the Clown is and where he's going. Like I said, we learned a lot of things in this film, and we ended up seeing a lot of things in this movie repeated as well, such as Art the Clown using his bodily functions to make somebody mad in their shop, Art the Clown using a gun, because that is also something that he did in the first Terrifier movie that caught a lot of people off guard as well, and Art the Clown leaving the word art on the wall at the very end of the movie. Obviously, this is something that we have seen because Art the Clown likes to look at himself as an artist. And unfortunate to his victims, but art is definitely what he does when it comes to his masterpieces towards the end, so you can completely understand what that is. The thing about All Hallows Eve is that Art the Clown was actually played by a guy named Mike Gianelli, and Mike was actually just a friend of Damien Leone. Damien needed someone to fill this role, and so his friend Mike Gianelli had stepped in. Although him and Damien can now look back and say that Mike was definitely not the perfect role for Art the Clown, he now has David Howard Thornton, which does an incredible job anytime he is on screen as Art. So if you've noticed that Art looks different in a lot of this movie, that is the reason why. It is not the same person, the prosthetics and makeup are not done the exact same, there were small changes here and there, and now it has been perfected into a terrifying masterpiece. No pun intended. There is an All Hallows Eve 2, but this movie actually isn't about Art the Clown at all. It's actually just another anthology film made by different directors each film. So if you haven't seen All Hallows Eve 2, don't worry. You're not missing out on anything Art the Clown. But that basically sums everything up when it comes to the All Hallows Eve movie and the debut of Art the Clown. If you guys have ever seen this movie, then let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. And if you haven't seen it, after watching this video, do you feel like it's worth giving a watch? If I had to recommend my opinion, I would say definitely go and check this movie out. You can never get too much Art the Clown, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, now would be a good time for you to see it, especially before the release of Terrifier 3. If you stuck around this long and you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you're going to subscribe to the channel, then you might as well click that notification bell for me as well, because it is literally right there next to that subscribe button. My name is Haydxn. It was an absolute pleasure having you here on the channel, and I cannot wait to see you guys here in the next video. Peace!